Yeah. Let me see. Tess, I'm live. I don't know if you can hear me. Test 1 2. Yeah, yo, yeah. I just gotta turn the volume up some. There we go. 1 2. I don't know. Signal light. I might not be on here very long. It depends on if the subject's, I was experimenting with my camera downstairs, but I don't know. Maybe it might be that webcam. So I was gonna try to do this live stream downstairs, but it didn't seem to be working out. So I'm back upstairs where there's delay. And apparently it's something to do with YouTube. I thought it was the camera, but it's not. It's YouTube processing the video and the audio. So I'm just trying to. If anybody got any ideas, I'm out of ideas on how to fix this latency issue between the audio and the video. So I'm good. Is the audio DL? Can you hear me pretty good, or do I need to bring the volume up some? I can't really tell how well some people, everyone has different systems, so some people can hear really well and other people say it's low, and so but you said the audio is good. Okay, all right, cool. um Welcome, Maddie. Okay, Saint Nick. Okay, well, okay, appreciate everyone, so everyone can hear me fine. Okay, welcome everybody. Just Sunday, just to talk about Sunday. It's just a Sunday evening gear chat. Last week I talked about AI because I noticed even with the live stream that we did, uh I said you addressed the latency. So yeah, it'd be different because on speaking of the latency issue, like on a live mix or whatever, you can actually fix the delay by getting the delay so many milliseconds so it matches the video. But being I'm just going straight to YouTube. It's just YouTube, what YouTube processes. So, but anyhow, welcome everybody. Um, so welcome Right Sound Studios as well. So I want to talk about Sun and Gear and so forth. The reason I want to talk about gear and the way we still, or maybe a lot of people that still want to do it this way, whether you're like me, where you got a console and a lot of outboard gear, or you want to be in a box and just use plugins, or you want to be hybrid and use a combination of both, or whatever the case. But a lot of us still want to record and mix and do our stuff. And and AI is a hot topic right now. And the thing is, I went on Suno and tried it out, and I do have to admit that what it's producing is actually really, really good for it to be AI. The voices are pretty much 95% realistic. You can every now and then you can tell it's AI, especially when they do some of the runs vocally. But for the most part, musically and all that, I can see why. Um, but so there were some people that were making videos about AI and that it will put a lot of people out of work. But here's the thing, and I made a comment on Cole Kaepernick's channel about I don't think AI, I think AI is going to be, it's just a hot thing. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to use AI like people use samples. They're just going to use it as a tool. Reason being, because if you create an AI band, like they're supposed to be #1 AI bands, AI artists and all that. But the problem is you cannot do a live show with AI because they don't exist. They're not real. They're not human. They can't do radio interviews. They can't do TV appearances or nothing like that. They can't do interaction. They can't do, like, you're not going to sit down and I made this in this comment about You're not gonna be able to sit down with AI and talk to him and say, what inspired you to be an artist? You know, and I was being sorry, I was being condescending, like, well, when I was a baby computer with only 2 gigs of RAM, I played my first VST instrument, and then when I became grew into a Mac Pro with an M4 chip, I was, no, I mean that sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? So that's why I think those are the things that AI will never be replaced. I think AI would just be a tool that you can use. Like me, I would use the AI if I come up with some music and use AI vocalists because I don't have any vocalists here, just to see how it would sound with vocals on it, that sort of deal. Um, so Dio says you bought one of them Amazon mics. I haven't tried that yet, but I've been progressing. Oh, you talking about the like this? I'm using one of the Pro R. It's called Pro R C414. Like the only downside to this microphone, there's only one downside to me for the price. Is only $79 on Amazon. They're the Pro R C414. The only downside to this mic is that it's cardio only. That's about it. But I record most of my stuff in cardio pattern anyway. So, but for the price, these microphones sound really, really good for what they, I think there's a great alternative instead of spending $1,400 on the actual AKG C414. So that's just my opinion. But Maddie says AI is impressive, but it has changed. Like I said, I think AI is going to be used as a tool. It's a great idea for, especially for someone who's not a musician and they need music created. It's another tool versus, the AI create the music versus having someone who actually create the music. It's coming out sounding just as good. But like for me, I'm going to always continue to actually play and create and mix my own. That's just, where I am at. So that's kind of the hot topic right now. And AI is not only affecting the music, is affecting the film and TV as well. So that's the thing. So there might not only just people in the music industry may feel threatened, but the film industry, because now you think about it with AI, I don't have to hire a bunch of people. AI can generate everything and it looks realistic. But there are still here's the thing, that one thing about AI, a lot of that stuff that they're doing right now with AI, even the people, is so a lot of times if you look really close at the AI, the people look a little too perfect. And you and I know that real people, there's always imperfections. We all got some skin imperfections on our skin. And I don't think AI, they haven't really thought about that, because I look at AI people and their skin is just too perfect. So that's what was going to give it away. Oh, that's AI, because it's just and then the way the eyes are moving and just certain movements, and then a lot of times it's just certain situations just unrealistic that it's AI. Like a cat, like a regular house cat beating up a tiger. You and I know that would be impossible. A tiger would annihilate a cat, a house cat. It would annihilate. Tigers take down lions. So a cat is no threat to a tiger, but in AI, a cat can beat up a tiger because it's AI. You can make AI do whatever you want. But anyhow, so it said, Dia asked me, so why not sing my own vocals and use an enhancement until you find the right person to work with? People use to find other art. Well, like I said, I do have a few artists, but sometimes I just want to use the vocals just to see what it sounds like. I would not always, for example, one thing about AI, like for example, the artists that I'm doing, they're not going to sound like an AI artist. They're real people. So that's just, it's like anything else. You're just trying to get an idea laid down. And a lot of times with an AI or whatever, you can present that to the actual artist that's going to sing it. That's one great thing about, like, even Suno. You can, if you create some tracks on Suno, you can download the stems, Take the vocals out and just use the music if you want, or you just want to use certain parts of what it created. You might like the drum patterns or whatever that it created, but you don't have to use any of the other parts. You can come up with your own parts, including your own vocals. So, like I said, it's just to use it as a tool. I would use AI as a tool and not a replacement. But there are a lot of people out there going to use AI as a replacement, and that's where it's kind of like So, Rice Sounds says, I think Code is right about revisions. Hey, you can turn your vocals up 5 dB. People always want LaFX is not LaFX not sure. Yeah, I would be able to. It's like I said, I think when they're doing the algorithm, because this is what I kind of figured out with AI and how they're doing it. Because they're doing a lot of stuff that we would normally do in DAWs. Like for example, if you're in Studio One and you make an A bar loop, all you got to do is hit the D key and it will automatically duplicate another A bars like that. AI is just doing it like ridiculously, like you know. So if your song is 96 bars, it just created 96 bars like that. That's kind of the key difference. But I think what they've done is it's kind of like if you have like I have my Roland that's got like 40 different types of drum kits in it, as well as it's like with the MPC that you can sample drum sounds. Well, that's what it's doing. It's taking that, and then of course, how it's doing the vocals is taking MIDI and converting it to audio. But instead of being instrument sounds, they're vocals. That's why you can kind of hear a little bit of the AI in the vocals. It's manipulating because it's MIDI, it's still digital being converted. So I was like, oh, that's how it's doing it. But moving on, let's see. Let's see, what do I need to make your own music videos and movies? How long does it take to learn on college? See, as far as the video, I'm not a very great video guy either. I for video, I still go on like on YouTube. There's a thing. He has a YouTube channel called Film Riot. I watch a lot. Sometimes I go back and watch the Film Riot, and I'll watch some of those channels to get ideas of how he's making films and videos. He's way better teaching that than I am. I can talk the audio side, but not the video side. I wish I was better at video. Film Riot on YouTube he's a great start. He's got some short films that, to me, some of the short films he's made will rival what they're coming out of Hollywood. That's just how good it is. He's not the only one when it comes to that. So I would, like, I'm still trying to figure out, because I got DSLR cameras, but I'm still trying to figure out. I still want a digital cinema camera, because that's I believe that certain tools are made to do certain jobs well. Like DSLR, people use DSLR cameras for doing video and all that. But one thing I know about DSLR cameras is one thing they do well is photography. So that's why I bought mine for photography, strictly for photography. And if I want to do film video, I'm going to actually get a cinema camera for that, because that's what it's designed to do. So that's just my thoughts on it. But right, says you can use Lander mastering right now. Yeah, I thought about using Lander. I haven't yet, but I thought about using Lander as a mastering. And also, why not do scratch vocals yourself and then clean them up with Melodyne or iTunes just to get the idea in your DAW? Yeah, I could do that, but at the same time, I also, like I said, if I want to hear what an actual female sound like on some ideas, I'm still fairly new to the AI world. I've only been messing around with it for just a couple of weeks. So, but it's not my go-to. My go-to has always been doing my own original stuff. I'm not going to stop doing that. So, AI, I'm just going to use AI as a tool, like I'm not going to use it as a substitution. So, so that's all, and that's what a lot of producers are doing now. They're just using AI I kind of mimicking. I'm kind of um, stating what Right Sound Studios are saying about using as just to pitch a demo and then actually have the real people come in. Producers are doing that now. They have AI generate a song and then they'll have the real musicians and artists actually sing. Um, but there are people out there that are using AI to replace what people like myself do, and that's what's the big debate in AI right now. So, but here's the thing: I also made a comment on Coach channel about when I was making my thought process. One of the thing about AI, if you have AI do everything, for example, everyone knows I got quite a bit of choices of preamps. I might want to use this microphone with this preamp and this compressor, or I might want to use this microphone with this preamp. I might want to use this choice of compressors. I might want to use this choice of reverbs. And that's part of what makes a lot of times that's what gives mixers and all that their identity. It's kind of like what Crystal Algae and any mixer gives them options. They might not all want to, AI is not thinking about that. AI is trying to build a song in seconds. It ain't thinking about 1176 compressors and LA2As and 47 FET microphones. It ain't thinking about that because I guarantee a lot of the people that was developing the software are probably not music people. They're probably, I would say, software coder guys. So who knows? Believe it or not, yeah, cinema cameras cost thousands, but that's for the new ones. You can get the older ones that have come down in price that still work well. And that's what I would do. I would not buy, like, for example, I'm not going to buy $125,000 Arri Alexa. No, I wouldn't do that. But you can get some of the first gen Arri Alexa's cameras, $2,500 as an example, compared to $100K. Some of the first Canons, C200s, C100s, whatever, C100 Mark IIs are no longer $7,000-8,000. Now those cameras are going for about $7,800. Some people say, well, yeah, it only shoots 4K or 1080p or whatever. Well, I'm not trying to make Hollywood film on a red Epic Dragon, using high-end Pinota $25,000 lenses, and I'm not doing that. My thing is to do small video projects, maybe those short, small films. I'm not trying to compete with Hollywood. So that's why I would buy, an older used camera for $800 or whatever versus spending $5,000 or whatever. It really depends. Let me see. If you're using better as a better band in the box, cool. But just Mr. Replay the song if you're going to pitch it. And once again, here's the thing about I've already created some stuff on Suno. And some of that sounds so good. I just would never need to record. If I was just going to pitch an idea, I would get, it comes out so good you don't have to re-record it. You're going to re-record the real song anyway. But I wouldn't re-record it for a demo. I would actually want to record the actual song if I'm going to do it. But I'm going to tell you, some of this AI that's coming out of Suno that is doing, a lot of that is already ready to go. That's how scary good this stuff is coming out of Suno. If you never tried it on Suno, try it. Like me, I got the paid version, I got the pro version. And that's, a lot of people think for someone like me who does my own music and my own everything, why would you use the Suno or whatever? And I gotta admit, a lot of people would have a valid point about it. Like, well, you can do everything yourself. But I have to give it props. I was blown away how good those tracks are coming out. I was blown away. Like, that's already ready to go. The harmonies, the vocals, the drums, the imitation, the whole, that blew me away. How good it's like already mastered sound, ready to go recording. I'm like, it's incredible. I got to give it props. But once again, as good as they are coming out of Suno, I still would do my own creations and my own mixing and recording because I like the fact that I like to give my stuff choices. I might not always want it, let's say I want to sound with this compressor or that, or this set of drums or that arrangement, those vocals or whatever. So, but it's I gotta give it props. A lot of this AI is really, really, really good. So, oh, Right Sound says, they tell me the Black Magic. Here's the thing, because like I said, I'm not a oh, let me see. Y'all threw in a couple of comments, but let me go back to um let me go back to what someone was saying about Right Sounds. Black Magic Design. I was gonna make a comment before I saw another comment. Um Here's the thing. That's why I said I'm a novice to actual making using digital cinema cameras and doing film and all. I'm a novice. But what I've heard about a lot of times when you get the cameras, those cameras, a lot of times you're buying the body only. It's all the other accessories that you need, the lenses, the all the mounts, the batteries, and the focus, the follow focus and all these tools, the mat uh that goes in the front and all these things that you need. That's just to build the camera rig. And then there's other stuff that you need, and that's what I'm still trying to learn. And then on top of that, am I going to go into Adobe Premiere? Am I going to go into like Hit Film? Am I going to go DaVinci to edit all these videos? Because I still got to learn how to use that editing, that like DaVinci Resolve, really master that software like you master a DAW, to do all the editing. And there are people out there that make these films with these cameras and all that. They are pro at it, but of course, a lot of these people probably doing it 5-10 years, so it's nothing to them. But I'm still a novice that I've never made any films, so I'm still learning on that. Yeah, but it's all the accessory stuff. Now going back to let me see what Dio said. What older but still recent cinema cameras should we be looking for? Like I said, I've heard great things about like the Canon C100, the Canon C100 Mark II. There's the Canon C200. There's the Canon C500, and a lot of these cameras that you can buy now will not break the bank. Even some of the red. I think the only thing done with red cameras, I don't know if you have to use a PL mount to mount certain, like some of these cameras where you use Canon EF mount lenses. Some of them will not. You have to use an external mount to mount those lenses. That's just the lenses. And then you still got battery rigs. Then sometimes you have the monitors and and all that. And then buying the video cards that it's going to go to, like, if you're going to use CFast or SD cards or whatever. And just all that. And this is just from what I've been learning. But the reason why I became interested in because I was impressed with the short films that they were making. And these look like Hollywood films. I'm like, they're doing this and they're making these films and videos that are rivaling Hollywood. I'm like, wow, that looks like Hollywood did it. So, and then learning how to use the software and adding all these effects and some of the stuff is so good. It's like, wow. So that's another interest that I want to get into. But like I said, I'm still a novice. So welcome. I thought I saw somebody. At Quarters. Am I saying it right? At Quarters. Welcome, Train 43. Let's see. So have I ever considered hiring someone to run my studio if I moved into a commercial space? That would be profitable, or would you lose money like the studio went out of it? Here's the thing. I've talked about the cost of a commercial studio. for a commercial studio and a building. And the problem is the cost to do it. And it's like, spending that amount of money to make a professional commercial studio not guaranteed that you're going to get clients. Because the cost is so significant. It's so costly because you have to consider, not only do you have to consider, I'll put it in perspective. I did some research on this, and let's say I wanted to go all in and get a commercial space, and I'm talking about just one control room, one live room, and the cost of the materials to do it right, just the materials to do it right. If you're going to do, let's say the control room is going to be maybe 20 feet by 30 feet. And then say your live room is going to be double that, and you're going to have a tall ceiling. So you got to find out a space in the building that, that you can find. And most of the time, because the buildings are so expensive, most of the time, the only thing you can lease it. And also, you have to make sure it's zoned for recording studio, because recording studios are only zoned in certain specific areas because of noise. Even though you're going to soundproof it, but that's how most 90% cities are. Your commercials, it has to be zoned for a recording studio. $100,000 to $150,000 just in materials, easy. That's just to build it. The control room, the live room, floating rooms, to do it right, $100,000 to $150,000, and you can eat that up really, really quick. The doors, the glass, having an acoustician come in and or a person that designs studios come in and they make the plans. Then you got to build the ground system, star ground system, the wiring, the cabling, which could run you another $100,000 in cabling and wiring. So now we're 250, and that's just to build the shell of the recording studio. Now we got to put the gear in there. Whether you choose to use a console or not a console. If you're just going to have just like an Argosy studio desk, and you're just going to work with a monitor with interface and maybe a few pieces of outboard gear, it depends. But you got to think about your gear costs. Then a lot of times you need the maintenance because stuff breaks. Are you going to be the engineer? It's hard to run, that's just if you're going to have a studio manager. This is the person that's managing the studio as well as making sure the studio gets booked with clients. I mean, if you have a staff, they got to be paid. By labor laws, if you got people, you have to pay them by labor law. That's just the law. So the cost can really, really add up fast. So the average cost of most professional commercial studios is sitting about $1 million, $1.5 million. And that's just for one control room, live room. A lot of times when you start booking clients, that's if you get clients to start coming. Then if you start getting multiple clients, now you got to build a second control room, a second live room, third room, and then it starts expanding, and then the cost just gets, so I would say Blackbird is sitting, for him to have a 9 control room studio, 9 live room, 9 control rooms, he's probably sitting at about $75 million in cost and build. $75 million. That's just the build. And he's probably sitting at another $20 million in gear. John McBride of Blackbird he's in debt up to his ears. And the thing is, because so many people have built their own home recording studios, the clients are not going to even studios like Blackbird as much anymore. Think about it. When you go and see some of these studio tours and they can do a tour and there's nobody in there being booked, that's because there's no one booking the studio. And a lot of times when these guys do these studio tours, it's publicity for them to try to get clients. The one thing about a recording studio, out of all of it, is still a business, and it's in a business to make money. And if they need clients to make money. So that you have to think about that. So going back to initially about Would it be profitable? In this day and age, probably not, because the one studios that are already established, like Larrabee, Sunset, Blackbird, Electric Lady, Criteria, and I could just go on and on. If they're already having problems, like even when you had the record plant had to shut down, um, and a lot of studios like that, they're already established, had to shut down because they just weren't getting clients. Think about me who's going to try to start another commercial studio, and the ones that are established are struggling. No, it wouldn't be profitable. It just wouldn't. So, yeah, it's yeah, like Right Sound Studio says, he means yeah, over here to rent the yeah, exactly. It's costly. It's like I said, and it really depends on the space. Um, you think about it, even Alan Size, who used to own Ocean Way / United / Ocean Way, he's eventually selling it. He's just selling his speaker systems, Ocean Way speakers, because running a top-notch studio like that it's expensive. And if I'm not mistaken, Ocean Way had to let off all their staff. I don't think Ocean Way opened back up. I could be wrong, but they were closed for a minute, just like Capitol Studios. Capitol Studios had closed down for a minute. They might be open back up, but they closed for a minute. Oh yeah, Majesty says 100,000 without even trying. And what are you charging? 100? Hey, that's a lot of people don't think when they were paying. People's clients are paying what $500 to $500, $500 an hour. 200 was it $300 to $500, $250 to $500 an hour, and they were making lockout times up to 10 hours a day. Because you could run out of 10 hours and easy doing a recording session. Because you've been in the studio for weeks. And that's when they have it booked, because so it's like I said, with the DAWs, and I've talked about this before, DAWs, plugins, and buying interfaces and doing this stuff at home has made it so much attractive for people to do this at home, whether they have experience or not. Have made it way more easier. And like I said, with this AI, that's another, because now it's like, well, a lot of people are, well, I don't even need DAW anymore. I can just use AI to generate everything. And it's, so going back to, welcome Indigo. He said back from the 7-Eleven dumpster. Let's see this. Those guys with the big studios have close friends. They keep them busy with projects, right? Once again, you think about it. How's the recording studio? Let's go back, commercial studios altogether being, you think about it, most of them only dealt with big name clients because they knew those are the ones that could pay the cost of how much they had invested, to build those top of line studios. This is when we're going back when record labels were giving artists advances. Record labels were making billions of dollars from record sales, yada, yada, yada. But once all that changed, with the internet and streaming services and, people being able to buy plugins and DAWs and do this at home and all that, the recording studio business, it's like anything else. It's a trickle effect. It's gonna, because people just don't need it as much anymore. So so you said, let's see, Right Sound Studio said Ocean Way LA is defunct. The Nashville studio is still around. Nashville studio Ocean Way is on Music Row. So the Ocean Way in Los Angeles pretty much closed. I think, let me see if Capitol Studios, let me go over here and see if Capitol Studios is even still. No, let me see if they're even um I'm typing in Ocean Way right now, Los Angeles. All right, let me see. Are they even um we got Ocean Way audio, but let me see. Yep, the iconic Ocean Way recording studio in Los Angeles is permanently closed. So, what's that tell you? And the Ocean Way is probably one of the few in Los Angeles, the longest running, and it's closed. Let me see. Let's look at Capitol. No, Capitol Studios still says they're not closed, but they're going under significant changes. So who knows what's going on with Capitol Studios? Anyhow, welcome aboard, Shamir. Oh, it says, Master, your studio still is looking cleaner, more organized. I think, well, it's not there yet, but I'm trying. Appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. As far as Capitol, yeah, they're still around, but a lot of studios. Matter of fact, I think Westlake. Let me see, is Westlake? For those that know, Westlake was the recording studio where Michael Jackson did a lot of his initial recordings. I think they're. Let me see. No, Westlake is still open. Westlake is still open, which is amazing. Okay. Let me see. Well, let me see similar. Let's see which recording studios. I'm gonna put iconic recording. Let's look at it right quick. Have closed. Let's see. I know the Magic Shop closed out of New York. I know the Magic Shop had closed. And you know what's crazy is a lot of studios where a lot of music from a lot of my favorite artists, they didn't always go to some of the big names like we know, like Ocean Way and East West. A lot of these were some of these studios have closed years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. A lot of these closed because it's a business. And they, like any studio, is a business, and you can only sustain as much as you can because the cost of running a recording studio, including the staff. So let's see. Oh, let's see. East Audio Recording Studios 710. Our Los Angeles recording is 22 years is closed. Wow. So yeah, East West is still very much open. And I bet you East West, which is pretty much next door to where Ocean Way used to be. They're right next door to each other. They used to be connected. They're probably still open because they're still doing film recording. So, some of these movies, like Paramount and all that, are still hiring these recording studios to do film score recording. I know they're, like Air Studios in London. They're still doing that. So um, why hasn't anyone done any ranking on every studio, state by state? I like the what are the top 10 best in each state that deliver the best quality mix. Well, that would be hard because we don't know. um, Uptown Photography just chiming in, Mark, to say hello. Been listening for about cool. Uptown Photography. That's my buddy Phil. so, um, so amazing guitarist. Uh, so and excellent studio engineer as well. Uh, so the Hit Factory, New York City is I was just reading on that. I went out in Miami. Yeah, they call it Criteria. Sony Studios of New York is gone. Wow. Larry Studios is closed, but came back. Yep. Gotcha. I'm not sure the Village in Los Angeles is still open. I think what was that big one in New York? They turned it into a school run by Berkeley. Power station. Oh, somebody just said it right there. They just wrote a power station in Berkeley. Yeah, I think it's not a running school, running studio. I think it's just more for um um it's more for basically more for teaching, like people that are going to audio engineering school, which I have my thoughts on that as well. Jazzy Lamel, see, that's where you come in because you can be the cheaper option, with newer technology and get still. The only problem with for me is I don't have the live room space because this is my house. Uh, just like with Dio's action, would I run a commercial studio? Now, if I had a house that had the space, I would definitely be renting out and like that. But I don't have the live room space for a band. I wish I did, but I don't. Um, so, oh, Uptown Fire Field says nice cover. Yeah, yeah. We were talking about some of the pieces of gear that I bought and so forth. And I told myself I'm pretty much done with buying gear. Now, the only thing I have to buy now is just maybe cables, build some racks for my gear, and stuff like that, and some more microphone stands, just miscellaneous stuff. But gear itself, I'm done. I'm done. Let's see. They still run a room. Yep. Gotcha. That's another reason how Blackberg is making his money too, is he's running a school. So he's turned, which you can do. Oh yeah, finish the Star Ground, which I need to. Laughing out loud. We've talked about this for a while. So but yeah, that's just my thoughts on the recording studio. And if you want to, open up you got to think about the cost, you know, and it can get expensive really, really quick. Really, really quick. So most people just start to find that it's just more advantageous or more advantages to trying to just do their own recording studio and just do their own stuff. The only thing that I miss about the commercial studio is when you walk into a commercial studio, uh, you sense a vibe, especially if it's top-notch recording studios. You sense a vibe that probably some of your favorite records were made there, by some of your favorite artists. And that's one thing that could be irreplaceable. That vibe that you get from walking to a commercial studio like that. Like I was visiting one of when they was doing an AES event down in Nashville. I went to that and it was they were selling gear and they had a couple of live rooms, filled with tables of people selling gear. But just walking in there and you could hear the ambience of the room and all that. And of course, I went into a control room. They had an SSL Origin desk in there. They didn't have a lot of outboard gear. Took a couple of pictures, but just being in that vibe of being in that recording studio is like, man, this would be cool to be back in an actual recording studio building. So, um, so audio recording says I've moved my studio home. Now I only do mixes. It's cool because I can choose who I want to work with because my overheads drop setting. Yeah, I can believe that. Because that's like I said, that's another cost that we're talking about when it comes to commercial studio is you have to pay your staff. You got chief engineers, assistant engineers, you might have some interns in there, you got a studio manager, you got a maintenance team. Most of the time when you run those studios 24/7, the gear never turns off, which means a channel might go out on the console, maybe a speaker gets blown. Sometimes microphones grow legs, cables break, and a lot of just continue on and on and on. So, excuse me for yawning. So there's just on top of that, you might book, and all of a sudden some clients don't show up or they would like to be late. Then you have to set some ground rules. Like I remember one time I was watching a video, and I don't care if it was me. I saw this band and they had some tracks pulled up on the console. And then one guy decided he's going to walk across this $500,000 SSL console. He's walking across it, jump on top and running across the channel. If I ever caught someone did that in my studio, I don't care who they are. It could have been, I don't care if it's Snoop. This session's done. Y'all out of here. You're not about to destroy my console because you want to get out there and get drunk and act stupid. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So he walking across, that, and I said, no wonder, I've seen where people selling, and you see how, I'm like, how does your buttons get destroyed on now I see? You got some clients are idiots. Smoking, some clients, smoking and the gear, that's not a good thing. That smoking and drinks are not good around gear at all. That's a bad combination. You want to have a smoke-free environment with your gear and a drink-free environment with your gear. So let me see. Dio says, can I do a dream gear list if you were starting all over to build a studio and could buy the best sounding gear you could? What would you buy now? I'm gonna tell you what I would do, believe it or not, Dio. If I was to start over, you know what I would do instead of do like I did now? I would take the advice of a good acoustician and I would acoustically treat the room. That's would be my first priority. And then I would do a layout. I would actually sit down and design a layout. Where, if I'm going to get a console, where do I want it to be? I would measure the room, and so forth. Then I would, according to my room, decide how much space, and then I can kind of go from there. From with gear and outboard gear, and where my vocal booth's going to go, if I'm going to and drum booth, and that's what I would do if I was to start over. As far as the cost on the dream gear list, as far as dream gear, I already have my dream gear. Like I've always wanted an Avalon 737 preamp, which I got one. I got two of them. I've always wanted some knee style preamps. I've always wanted some API, which I do have some API. They're called the Tone Beast. I always want to have 1176s, but I don't have 11. I have the Lindale Audio 1176 style. So the only thing I don't have is an AMS delay and an Eventide H3000. That's about it. But I pretty much got every piece of gear that I could possibly want now. So I'm happy. Took years to get this stuff, but I do have it. So let's see. Oh, Right Sound Studio says, what is crazy? Studio capital for studio is far less than some other businesses. I think the great thing about capital and what they can charge for their rates is because they not only do they own their own recording studio versus some record labels didn't own their own. They would have the artists, they would sign artists, and artists would go to the recording studio. They would just manage, or they would just basically contract the artists, but the artists had to go find their own recording studio. Capital, being that they are the label and they own their own catalog, which allows them not to charge so much because they made billions off their catalogs of artists they sign. They don't have to worry about charging like an independent record or recording studio would. So I think that's why they can able to do that. Dia says, I spent way too much on software VST Press. Haven't we all? I looked at my VST plugins. I like, wow. That's why I hadn't really bought any plugins in a long time because I got over 1,200 already. I'm like, I'll never use that many plugins. I was buying plugins because plugins they're so easy to get. They're so inexpensive. It's easy to get out of control, especially when you get the ones that are free. Not including the ones that are free. Oh yeah, Audio Recording Studio 17 says, how about 200 a month? Like, I can believe that, because if you're running, let's say you got a console in there and that thing is on 24/7. Yep, a big Neve console, something like that. SSL, I can believe that. Oh yeah, it's Right Sound Stupid immediately fired over. Yeah. Like I said, I wish I could find that video. I saw that video, and these guys was doing all that, and one guy just decided he gonna walk across $500,000 SSL 6000 console. He's walking across all, being stupid. I'm like, no, ain't nowhere in the world. I don't care. It could be Snoop who can buy me another console. That's not the point. You're not there to tear up the gear, because even if you could afford to buy another one, if you break the console, the studio's down for a few months to pull that console out and try to get another console there, including all the cabling. No, we're not doing. I don't care. We're not doing that stupid stuff. But anyhow, yeah. Oh yeah. So Republic Records bought a console once, right? Idiot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That. You got to gauge some of these idiots that come in here. They come in there and they wreck the console or acting stupid and break some outboard gear, or whatever, break some microphones, rip, whatever. Especially with drummers, you have to really be careful, because when you placing the mics on drums, your biggest fear is if the drummer is going to hit the mic instead of just hitting the drums. So yep. A Right Sound says, buy, gotta buy and pay. That's why I always have I was teasing my friend Phil, he's Uptown Photography. He always says, when I buy stuff, I always buy in 2 and 3s, because like I said, I always like to have a spare. I always like to have at least 2. So if one breaks, I got a backup. So that's the main reason why I always have 2 for the most part. I don't always have 2 of everything, but that's the most reason why I have 2s. So I have a backup. So like one of my Tone Beats breaks, I got another one. So let's see. He says, back to says, I agree. My commute is down half and I get past the kitchen and grab a coffee and way back. Yeah, that's the nice thing about. That's the one thing I can say was great about having a home recording studio versus going all the way across town to a commercial building is I'm upstairs in my recording studio, but I can go downstairs and be in my living room watching TV. The nice thing about being up here is I don't have to book it because it's mine. I can walk in here anytime I want, 3 o'clock in the morning if I want to, and lay down tracks if I want to. So it really depends. Let's see. Did I miss a comment? Let me see. Someone said something about Sunset Sound. Oh, audio recording studio says when I have to record drums, etc. I've been taking my clients down to Sunset. That's cool, and that's nice because Sunset Sound, which is on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, they were having a homeless people problem for a minute, hanging around. Even though Sunset is gated, they were having a homeless. People were homeless, hanging around, disrupting. I remember one time they said Taylor Swift was in there. She was trying to go to the store around the corner, and it was just a bunch of riffraff bothering her. She couldn't even get to the store. She said, I'm not going to be back. So I hope they got that under control. But Sunset Sound is one of Warren Hewitt, Produced Like a Pros. That's one of his favorite studios. He loves Sunset Sound. A lot of people recorded there, from Prince to Stevie Wonder to you name it. Sunset Sound, Van Halen. I mean, their repertoire is huge, just like I guess most of them, Larrabee's, Ocean Way. Los Angeles had a huge following of artists that record in Los Angeles. So yeah, I would love to visit Sun Sound. Never been there. Just only what I've seen on through video. I know that's Leela Scar. If anyone knows who Leela Scholar is, he's the bass player. He played with Phil Collins and so forth. He's a permanent, I would say, even though he's like, some studios have session musicians and musicians that are just, they can go there anytime they want. And he's one of those that Sunset, he doesn't have to worry about. He can just knock on the door and they'll let him in. He probably have a key. So, Layback Beats can say, have you ever been to the NAMM? No, I have never been to a NAMM. I've only been to AES events, which stands for Audio Engineering Society. Never been to a NAMM. I don't have any NAMM membership. But yeah, they were only giving NAMM like if you are like, you have to be affiliated with like Guitar Center or so forth. But I've heard they're making it a little bit easier to get NAMM membership. It used to be really hard to get NAMM membership, but you see, Right Sound System. Let's count how many dented U87s. Yep, like I said, it's just some people they just I don't know. Just that's my biggest fear because unlike some of those other studios, clients are breaking gear, and they just let's just go get another mic or we'll just buy. My budget isn't as big as those guys. So I'll be leery if someone broke a microphone because So yeah. So some artists get it in their head about the big studio, the time, legacy, plaque, whatever, but maybe home studios excel with being in the vibe and being comfortable, just create, and it's kind of like, like I said, it's I get two different types of vibe for myself. Being in a commercial studio versus being at home. The only downside for me in a home recording studio is I'm here by myself sometimes, and sometimes I want to interact with other musicians, engineers, and all that. And when I'm here by myself, I can't do that. But when you're in a commercial studio, you can interact and get you can get actual feedback and stuff like that. So that's the only thing. John Mayer just bought Henson Studio. Did he? Wow. Okay. Legacy Shredder, what's going on? So And then like we're around like Right Sound says USA U87, which is a Neumann U87, sounds great on toms, but um a lot of engineers like to use dynamic mics like Sennheiser 421s on toms or even SM57s. Because it's a dynamic mic versus a condenser mic. Like I've seen engineers like to use U87s as overheads or room mics. I've never really seen too many for U87s on the actual drums, but there's no one way to record. Also, that's another reason to go to another studio to do drums. No more dented or broken mind. Like I said, it's because and a really good drummer is cognizant to where he's hitting the drums. But like you say, you get some that are just wild. They can't control their dynamics. And has anyone ever used a NIN 1073 OP8? And I haven't. Does it sound as I've heard mixed reviews on that? Because the 1073 OPX is supposed to not be as vintage or as warm sounding as an actual vintage 1073. This is what I heard. But I don't know. So and now why doesn't that surprise me, Legacy, that you have all the Neve 1073? I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. But going back to the commercial studio, like we were saying earlier, it's the cost. So, but anyhow, did anyone that was looking to get some pieces of gear for their recording studio for Christmas or whatever, did y'all get any of it? Like me, I got a couple of new pieces. I got another, I got some reverb, units. I got I picked up another, it's the Warm Audio version of the Tube Tech. Y'all probably see it sitting on the rack over there. It's the Warm Audio version of the Tube Tech of the Tube Tech CL1B. So it's the Warm Audio's WA1B. I'm anxious to throw it in a vocal chain with my 73 style preamp. Just to hear how that vocal chain, because most people know that I've been using the Avalons, but I'm always plus I tested out my Joe Meek preamp, and I was like, wow, because you have it sitting there to go from standard to an iron style transformer. So I think Joe Meek is an underrated preamp, because you don't see a lot of people getting Joe Meeks, but I have a couple of Joe Meek preamps. So let's see. Matthew says, I can't afford gear right now. Too many bills. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So Santa brought a Shelfer 5254. Okay, nice. Nice. Audio recording studio says, I'm actually selling a bunch of gear, downsizing. Downsizing, huh? Okay. You can probably if you have a link to where you're selling your gear, so if anyone interested in some gear, they know where to look you up. So he's asking about the open. Like I said, yeah, Legacy probably can answer better than I could, because I don't have any of those, the OPXs. Okay. All right, Sound Studio says Joe Meek preamps and compressors are nice. Okay. Yeah, I like I said, I tried it out for the first time. I was like, wow, I should have been using my Joe Meeks a long time ago. So I appreciate it. Intricate Incorporate. So hit the like button if you like this content and you like me doing this kind of stuff every week and all that, and we just kind of here interacting. Yeah, please hit the like button and don't forget to share. And a lot of times, a lot of people forget to hit the. A lot of times, people forget, forget to hit the bell to give them a notification. I don't know how well YouTube is notifying everyone when I do videos or when I do these live streams, but definitely hit the bell. So yeah, I think and I would have to agree with Legacy on that. I don't think he says the OPX is ever so slightly cleaner than a vintage 1073, but other than that, it sounds being a Neve, I can probably 100% agree with that without ever owning one, because this Neve's reputation, especially everyone knows about the Neve, that 1073 is their most Neve. The 1073 is probably their most sought after piece of gear out of everything is the Neve 1073. Even though there's a Neve 1081 and a Neve 1084, there's a Neve 33609 bus compressor. There's a Neve, quite a few pieces of Neve gear, like the Neve console. That's just still an expensive piece, but it's the sound, and somebody said, well, if you had an SSL console versus a Neve console, which one? A Neve? Like, I would love to have a Neve VR. Even though I like my Allen Heath console, I would love that I have a Neve, but I just don't have the space. So yeah, exactly. The 1081 and 1084 are the same preamp with more EQ point. Yeah. But that a lot of people don't talk about the 1081 or the 1084 as much as like they talk about the 1073. All right, so yeah, track on the Neve, mix on an SSL, and I think it's because the SSL just had more variety. You had each on SSL you had dynamics on each channel. Plus, they're known for that bus compressor, that everyone's emulating, making clones of the SSL bus compressor. But for the most part, I think a lot of people love the preamp sound of a Neve, but they like the EQ sound of an SSL out of all of it, because SSL is known for their dynamics on each channel. They're known for their EQ, but everyone likes the Neve or the API preamp sound out of all of it. Even though there's Triton consoles, there's Helios, there's Heritage, there's Harrison, MCI. MCI is make stellar sounding consoles with those input and output transformers. Certain even some of the older vintage Tascams, some of the Sonys. There was a sound tracks. There's consoles for days. But everyone raves about the SSL EQ. That's why the plugin is so popular. The SSL channel strip plugin is so popular because of that EQ. So they say this is thing. If you really want to get that sound, get you a 1073 preamp, run it through your, and maybe like me, I got that warm out of CLB, but even if you're using the LA or 1176 compressor, create a vocal chain or whatever the case. And if you don't have an SSL, an actual SSL channel strip, use the SSL channel strip plugin. And that's gotten you like 90% of the pro sound of millions of records. That's the combination. So Oh yeah, the Soundcraft Ghost. I got a friend of mine. He had a Soundcraft Ghost. He swears by it. I've heard some of the stuff he's done on it. It's a really nice sounding console. It's semi-modular like my Allen and Heath. So this is another one. Soundcraft. Of course, there was a Soundcraft Sapphire. Um, and then there was I'm trying to think of the other one. There's quite a few really. Um, oh, Audience, which is another one. Um, so yes, in other words, this is audio, yeah, audio recordings. Yeah, you're talking about creating a console using SSL channel strips with SSL 360. I guess it's what. Yeah, basically, I'm saying is if your computer can, if you can handle it. What a lot of people are doing is on the recording on the front end, they'll use something like a Neve 1073 or a really nice sounding preamp and a really good compressor to create their vocal chain. And then a lot of people are starting to mix in the box. So what they're doing is they're putting an SSL channel strip on each channel because at least the SSL channel strip has also the EQ, filters, and dynamics. You got your gate and you get your gate, your expander, and your compressor. They might use an external, compressor plugin or whatever. But a lot of times, even if you just run all on your tracks and you put an SSL channel strip on every track, that gets you pretty much the SSL console sound. This is what a lot of people are doing. Except how people aren't doing something insane. Some people are making 150 tracks. I'm like, I don't know how you can manage 150 tracks. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Oh yeah. Yeah, see what else I was talking about. Manitou says, let me go back because I missed a few things. Layback Beats was I bought one of those AKG clones for my travel. It's like I'm using it right now. It's called the Pro R, C414. I'm to be this for this mic to be only $79. I was like, wow. Microphone Assassin did a review on it on YouTube. Let you hear and for it to be $79, I bought 4 of them from Amazon. I was like, this mic is impressive. For the cost, just impressive. So, Matthew says I'll be buying a LA2A clone later in the year though. Like I said, for LA2A, a really nice LA2A clone that's affordable is the Lindell Audio one. I have the Lin. It's called the Lin 2A. They're really affordable. They're only about $399, and they sound absolutely amazing. You better get it before the price goes up. But it's one of the few clones that will get you that LA2A, proximity sound without actually being an actual Teletronics LA2A that I've seen. And there's quite a few. You got stem audio out there, you got warm audio, and so forth. But it's a really nice, affordable, compressor. So another compressor that's actually underrated that I like a lot is the DBX 166. Even though the DBX 160s, like the XTs and all that, are actually, if you can find them and they're not broken, meaning they work, are actually pretty reasonable in price. I've seen the DBX 160s XTs go for about an average of $300 to $400 on Reverb. And those are probably one of the most go-to for drums, especially kick and snare, that most engineers use is the DBX 160. Trying to find one of them classic vintage DBX 60. I'm talking about what VU meters is going to, that's going to be out of most people's price range. But that's something to look for, if you're looking to get some compressors. Those DBX 160 XTs are pretty affordable. That's another option for some outboard gear. So, um, according says the Allen Heath is a great brand and it can be used for live shows or recording. Yep, I agree because that's why I have an Allen Heath. I use it as a recording console, even though this is technically a live console. But it's actually a really good sounding console for recording. And I'm glad Allen Heath was smart enough to put direct outs on each channel and so forth, and how they set it up, even though it doesn't have a matrix because it's a live console. I just wish I had a little bit more flexible EQ on it, but it's a great sounding console until I get my Neve VR 48 console up in here. And with these consoles, because like a lot of people don't want a console, but you know, the more and more people that don't want a console, it's like basic economics. When you got consoles like that and they're that big, and most people just don't want to deal with a console that big, that means the price is going to come down and down. I'm liable to run across a Neve VR console for $5,000 when that console was almost $1 million. I'm like, if I want to, you know, people say, well, what about the electronics and all that? I'm not scared of a siren iron. I mean, that's what I did in avionics in the military. I did electronics in the military for years. I am not scared of a soldering iron. I'll pull a channel and solder them some new caps. Even if it took me, let's say 1 day per, you know, if I took one channel recapped and it took a day per channel, I wouldn't care. I just, you know, I'm retired. So, well, I work part-time, but that's what I would do. I would just recap channels. So I brought the board back up to specs, but let me fool around and get a Neve VR. Yeah, okay. You don't have to want a Neve VR console. Okay, yeah, I don't want one. They're that big, they're heavy. Yeah, okay. Let's make the price cheaper for me. I'm just never getting rid of that console sound. Just me. But so see, Revival Audio mod. Revival Audio mod a lot of stuff. So Allegra Schroeder said, I agree on the Lindell. They sound close enough to LA2As. And Kirsten, they're super cheap. Good. I got 2 of them. Just like I got their, out of all of my clone gear, I swear by the Lindell Audio. I got their Pultec style. You can't see it because my I got some Lindell 76s. I got the Lindell Pultec style EQs and the Lindell LA2A style compressors down there. Really, really they're the closest sounding for a clone that I've seen. You know, a lot of people will get Warm Audio or Stem Audio or Audioscape, but for the price, you know, to spend $300-400, you know, the Lindell's going to get you right in the ballpark. So let's see. Most likely go for the Lind 2A. Yep, I would agree. The 160 VU is legendary. You just, the only thing with the 160 VUs is good luck. Good luck finding one for cheap. So let's see. Right Sound says, rest in peace. I must David Black. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Since I'm not tracking anymore in my studio, I'll probably be listing Vocal Chain on my Reverb store. I have a modded Sony C800G and a Neve 1073 and a Tube Tech. Okay. Oh, okay. We'll be looking for that on Reverb. Y'all heard it right there. So Audio Recording Studios is going to be selling that 1073, that Sony C800G and Neve on Reverb. So if you need in a market for that, look for that. So, he says, Madison says, I got the skills, go for it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I gotta have more confidence in myself. Yeah. Um, let's see. See, my mentor had a VR. He wanted to get rid of it without losing any value. He's moving out of a space that could house it. Yeah, because those consoles like that they're pretty. They are big. Um, they are big and they are heavy. I was watching. Oh, somebody mentioned about the Focusrite console. To me, as far as a gorgeous looking console, I think that Focusrite console they did a special. I think they only did 10 of them, and a couple of them got broken down. One got destroyed in the flood, but as far as the look of that console, that has to be one of the best looking consoles I've ever seen. Is that Focusrite console? Um, so I think that console is just so it just but I would love to have a Knee VR. That was one of the consoles that Al Smith swore by. You know, they have Knee VR consoles at Capitol Studios. And I was listening to the quality of that console when they were doing a orchestra, they were shooting an orchestra for a film through Air Studios because they have Knee VR consoles in London at Air Studios. And that's a Knee VR console. And I was just listening to the depth of that console because everything's going through that console just using the console's preamps. That was an amazing sounding console. So it's a shame. Oh, yeah, somebody said right sound. So yeah, correct. 10 Focusrites. Most are gone now, which is a shame. That's such a, and if I remember from the video, 3 or 4 went to Japan and they chopped 2 or 3. I'm like, why would you? They chopped 2 of them. I'm like, I just cringed when I see that, people do things like that. There was one in Jersey. It got destroyed in the flood. They found another one they was trying to put together. I don't know what happened after that. Welcome, David. 787. Welcome. And there was one at Ocean Way. Ocean Way. And then there's one called BOP Studios in South Africa at Bop Studios. Had a Focusrite console. And I'm like, that is such a beautiful console. That Focusrite is the one that Jack Joseph Puick used to be engineer on that Focusrite console for Ocean Way. So man, I would love to find one of them in one of those Focusrite consoles in some storage shed somewhere. Like, you can have the console, you can move it. Oh, you best believe I'm going to get a U-Haul truck right now. So okay, let's see. Oh, David said, I see you now have the Walmart 1AB. Yeah, I just picked it up. It was B stock. I'm anxious to try it out and just to see, how I like in the vocal chain. I'm gonna maybe with my 73s over there, just to see how the vocals come out. So, oh yeah, and rest in peace, Chick Corea, because I'm a piano keyboarder. So Chick Corea was one of my favorite keyboarders. One of my top 10, other than Herbie Hancock and Bobby Loud and quite a few other keyboard players. Bob James, Alex Bouillon, because I'm a keyboard player by trade. So Chick Corea, rest in peace. But he said there were VR consoles at Mad Hatter Studios in see, Mad Hatter Studios is one of those names of studios that people in Los Angeles knows about that have closed that a lot of people don't know about. But probably ain't no telling how many artists recorded at Mad Hatter Studios, probably lots. It's so that going back to I think it was DL that answered that earlier about can you get a list of all the top recording studios per state and all that, and But there was so many other studios like that that existed. Um, and of course, on here, like people, with like we got audio recording studios, another recording studio, just like you got Right Sound Studios. You got quite a few people on here that got recording studios on here. Legacy Shredder, I think Legacy Shredder got 10 of them in Nashville. No, I'm teasing. He says he's got 3. Um, so uh So if you're in the Nashville area, you get a chance to go and you need some studio time, you can look up Legacy Shredder Studio. I still don't know the name of him. Or I don't know if he's in on Music Row, or if he's in if he's over there in Berry Hills. I don't know. But yeah, I'm thinking your studio, Legacy Studio, it says he stays pretty booked. So, but Nashville, most of those studios in Nashville stay booked. I gave you my email. Well, you know what? You probably are sending stuff to my email, but that email is no longer. It's probably you probably sent it to it, but it's the name is probably not there anymore. It used to be showshorty99 at hotmail.com. Now it's dsrecruiter at hotmail.com. So dsrecruiter at hotmail.com. So if you sent it there, you might have to send it again to dsrecruiter at hotmail.com. So audio, it says Matt Hatter is still open. Oh, he donated to a church. Oh, okay, nice. At least they kept it open. So find an old copy of Mix Magazine when they do the studio directory. I'm gonna go through some of Mix magazines over here. I got a ton of Mix magazines. They still send me Mix magazine. I just don't read them enough anymore because Mix magazine used to be this thick. Now it's like a paperback. It's like, usually Mix magazine used to be the the go-to for like everything studio related and gear related was Mix magazine. They come up the latest audio interface or the latest microphone or latest preamp or whatever. So I don't know. So let's see. For those that know, Legacy Shredder, he's been watching my channel for a long time, so that's why I always tease him. But he's a faithful subscriber. So consider one of my subscriber friends. So I'm just, I like to tease him a little bit. Yeah, Mix Magazine. Who remembers Audio Recording Magazine and Mix Magazine? If anyone still get those, I still get them. But that was the go-to. So so that that's kind of what all I really want to talk about on this Sunday was just just a little gear chat. Like I said, I'm a firm believer. Don't even though I think AI can be a useful tool, don't let it take over. Still do your own recordings and let's still generate. Let's keep humanity, meaning real artists and real music, alive, because they are, anytime they think it's cheaper to replace you, they will, especially for computers and software, whatever. I don't think personally, humans to me can't be replaced. Oh, someone said Sound on Sound. Yeah, Sound on Sound. Yeah, I used to refer to them, and then of course there used to be their forums, like they call it Gear Space. Now it used to be called Gear Sluts, but it's Gear Space. And I'm probably missing quite a few forum chats, but yeah, but the biggest thing was Mix Magazine and Audio Recording Magazine. Um, I'm sure there's quite a few other ones, but because the internet is so dominant with the internet, most people just get on the internet, they get on Google or whatever, um, and just search it that way. And of course, there is YouTube University. I call it YouTube University. Um, oh, that's actually a good point. Says AI is not going to replace you, but someone who uses it might. So, um, like I said, the only thing I use AI for is noise reduction or on otherwise unfixable tracks. Like for me, I use AI just to see what it generates. That's all I use it for. But as far as what AI is doing, is like as far as musically, I'm like, it can't. I can do everything AI can do. It maybe do a little faster, but I can still create tracks, full-fledged production-ready tracks, and without AI. But because sometimes AI can generate stuff and it be way off. I want to create this 80s groove with some filler guitar and all that, and it all of a sudden it gets in the ballpark like, no, that guitar part wasn't what I was thinking. So a lot of times if I create a part, it was gonna do exactly what I was thinking. That's the great thing about being human. So but other than that, what I like about having, being in my recording studio is I can make my own choices. Let's say I don't want to use let's say I want to use the API and the Lindale 76 for my vocal chain. See, AI isn't even thinking about that. They're just going to make stuff. I might want to use this microphone. I might want to use that microphone. I might want to run through the console. I might just want to mix in the box. I might want to use Slate plugins. I might want to use some outboard gear. AI is not thinking like that at all. I might want to use this SI drummer kit for the drums, or I might want to use Moto drums from IK Multimedia, or I might want to use the MPC and make beats that way. One of the great thing about being human, at least I know I actually physically created it. So I think that's gonna do it for this live stream chat. Once again, I appreciate everyone that always tunes in. Not everyone get an opportunity to tune in. But I want to, and I want to do a shout out to my buddy Phil. He tuned in for the first time of Uptown Photography. I'm sure he's probably had to jump back off. But once again, shout out to all of y'all. Because pretty much everyone comes on here. They're pretty much come on here on a weekly basis. We got everybody from DL to the Legacy Shredder to Matty Two Hats to Right Sound Studios has been pretty, and been pretty faithful, and Train 43, welcome at quarters, and let me see who else is on here. There's been Born Shamir, Audio Recording Studios. I appreciate y'all coming on. Right Sound Studios. Just kind of going here. Jazzy Lamel. Quite a few people. So I'm not trying to skip everyone, but so it's always fun to do these things. Sometimes I don't always get a chance to do these live streams. I'm for a while I had to stop for a while. So A Banks 57, thanks for tuning in. And so forth. And then of course, Intricate Corporate. Thanks y'all for tuning in. But like again, everyone that tuned in and watching the live stream. But other than that, that's going to do it for tonight. I didn't see Secret Studios on here. Sometimes he's on here, sometimes he's not. But I once again want to thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, War Arts. I ain't seen War Arts. He might be busy. So other than that, I hope y'all enjoy. If you know, like I said, you got what you want, whether it's gear or maybe a new pair of shoes. You know, I used to be when I was a kid, I used to like clothes. Now, as you get older, you appreciate stuff like getting clothes and jackets and stuff like that. So other than that, oh yeah, appreciate you tuning in. I didn't record. You said glad things I caught you this week. Cool beans. Like I said, shout out to everyone that always tunes in. And we're gonna see y'all next time. And other than that, thanks for tuning in. And y'all have a great one. And make some real music and not AI music.